These thoughts up in my head, things I never did. I took some L's, but I'm still here. I got these thoughts up in my head. I toss and turn about some things I never said. I got regrets about some things I never did. I took some risks and took some L's, but I'm still here. And I know.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Overthinking Thoughts Pod. I'm your host, Ed, and as always, journey with me as we pursue greatness in a world full of chaos. And we are at episode 50. I cannot believe that I am at 50 episodes. It's been great. It's been quite the journey. I've learned some things. I have criticized and critiqued some things. I've tried to get better at what I do, but the consistency is key, and I'm very grateful that I'm sticking with it. So if you've been with me through episode 1 through 50, thank you so much. If you're new, thank you for being here. At this podcast, we just try to motivate and encourage, try to build you up, and try to not get you overthink so much, not to be anxious about anything for my Christian folks, but through everything with prayer and petition and thanksgiving, presenting our requests to the Lord, right? But more importantly, just navigating everyday life, understanding that there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of things that are going on in the world that are just wild. But if we just continue to stay focused and pursue greatness throughout this chaotic world, then maybe we can limit our overthinking and our anxiety, but we also can stay motivated and encouraged along the way. So that's kind of my gist. For those that know it, know it. If you're new, now you know. But shout out to everybody that has liked, subscribed, followed, shared, commented. Thank you so much for your continued support. Without you, I don't have much. So I thank you for everything. And yeah, like it's just crazy. Like 50 episodes is wild, but just definitely it feels good. So shout out to everybody who's been a part of it. As always, if you want to like and subscribe and support, you can catch me streaming through Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. And then you could also catch the visuals on YouTube, of course, at the Overthinking Thoughts Pod. And then if you are doing the social media standpoint, as far as, you know, your fun comments, quick hitter, things like that, you can catch me over on Instagram at OverthinkingThoughtsPod. You can also catch me on TikTok at OverthinkingThoughtsPod. Like, subscribe, comment, share videos, all that good stuff. So yeah, it's cool. Let's see. Where do I want to begin? I'll tell you where we begin. Let's talk about being grateful for a minute before we jump into the topic. So, quite the interesting day on last week. Driving my car to work, trying to get to where I need to go. And I missed my exit because I was trying to get over. My car is a 4-cylinder and it doesn't go how I expected. My older car was a V6, so sometimes you can get up and go pretty quick. The V4 does not. It's not even a V4. It's just 4 cylinders. It does not get great. So I have to make sure I'm not like trying to overdo it. But as I was going, I missed my exit. I was like, all right, fine. I'll get the next one. And I couldn't accelerate. I couldn't go over 40. So I'm like, all right, something's up. Pull over to the side of the road, trying to start it. Won't start. Sat there for about 5-10 minutes. Started it again. Bless me. Thank you. So then I'm trying to at least get off of the exit. I'm thinking like maybe I could find an AutoZone or something like that. I'm searching where I'm at. I think like the nearest AutoZone was like 3 miles away. I said I might as well just make it to work because I was closer. So I had to get off, then I had to get back on, and I'm riding the security or the safety lane. I think the most I got was like 40 or 45 miles. It was an interesting day, but I made it to work safe. I was grateful because I got my kids to where they needed to be, and everybody was where they needed to be safe. And then I was able to get back home. Well, I ended up taking my car to the shop, and then my peeps came and got me. But the fact that I was able to make it was great. And here's how great God is, because that weekend we were supposed to take a trip for my son's football game, which was about an hour away, and I was thinking like we were going in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, man, I can only imagine what it would have been like to have my wife and my kids stranded. I would have felt like there was nothing I could do, but God saw it, God provided, God blessed it, and I'm very thankful for that. This kind of ties into what we want to talk about today. If you notice the title, acceptance speech, it's not what you think. It's not like winning an award or somebody is congratulating you and you're accepting things on that behalf. It's not that. What this is accepting who you are and believing in who you are and being brave enough to live in your purpose and in your truth, right? So I call it acceptance speeches because you have to have that conversation with yourself of understanding who you are and then building off that. And so I was grateful for the fact that I was able to make it. And I realized that, old me would have tried to emulate other people and figure out how to get out of a situation. But who I am, I realized I couldn't do anything but trust God in that situation. Few thoughts went through my head, of course. Like I was kind of close to the road. So I'm trying to stay safe. I'm hoping the car doesn't swerve over and things like that. And the whole time I was just like, I realized that I'm not in control of the situation. I just have to trust like where I'm at, right? So I was grateful to make it out of that. And I've got people that have talked to me about it, and they're like, "Man, I would have been so mad. I would be fighting with this car because it's like the second time I've had something crazy happen with it." But I'm like, "Look, I remember days when I didn't have a car, when I just had to walk everywhere. So in order for me to deal with car issues, I have to have a car, which was something that I didn't have before. So I'm thankful for that." In the same breath, it also kind of got me reflecting on just life in general. Because when you're stranded, you kind of just start thinking about stuff. And just thinking about a little bit today is just far as like how we as individuals sometimes have a hard time accepting who we are because we see other people living lives that we wish we had, or we see other people doing things that we wish we could do. And if we try to emulate it or, copy it, we can't. And we get frustrated because it's like we're looking at God and saying, "How come you didn't make me better? How come you didn't make me like this person or that person?" The things that they're doing, I feel like I could do them. I feel like that I could be really good at it, right? And yet we forget that God has given us something that we could be good at. We can live our life fulfilling that purpose, and yet we'll throw it away because we want the thing that looks like it shines. And everything that glitters isn't gold. Grass isn't always greener, although it may appear to be greener. It might have a lot of maintenance and things that you don't see. And so I was thinking today, like, how can we as people who are anxious, people who overthink, how can we learn to accept who we are and what we're called to do, right? I was thinking about back in the day, um, and I could tell you and point out like certain people or teammates or just people that I guess at the time idolized and admired. I wanted to be like them because it just seemed like they could enter the room and everything just it was just easy. Didn't have to try hard. It wasn't awkward. People just naturally levitated or just surrounded these people. Whereas me, I'm like, man, I'm wondering if I'm getting noticed, wondering if I should say something, if I should do something. I used to walk funny back in the day, like I hunched my shoulders, put my head down. I used to do this weird thing. Do I want to? Yeah, it's fine. I used to do this weird thing where I would see people and I would see them from a distance, and instead of just waving where I'm at, I would act like I didn't see them, and then walk closer to go see them, and then try to make it a thing, like, oh, I'm not ready to be seen yet. I don't know. It was a weird thing, but this is what happens when you're not comfortable in your own skin. You start to like compromise who you are. I don't want you to compromise who you are based on what the world says or what the appearance of others may make you to believe or what you think you should be. You're uniquely made. You were made in God's image. You have things that other people don't have, and that's okay. Like there's certain things that aren't meant for you to go after. There's certain paths that aren't meant for you to walk. But there is a path that is meant for you. There is a purpose that's meant for you. There are goals that are set for you to achieve. But if you keep putting them to the side and diminishing them, then you are never going to become the true person that you're supposed to be. You'll just be a carbon copy of something that isn't you, and it's going to make you feel like it's pointless. A good friend that I know, his name's Donald Whittle. He was preaching at this church in Cincinnati, and it was kind of like Youth Sunday, and so he had this word, and I remember something he said, and I thought it was so powerful. He said, "Confidence in the counterfeit leads to confusion." And I think about that statement, and I think about my life, and I'm sure others have been in this situation before too. Remember, when I talk about, like, I talk about stuff that I've dealt with. So I want to make sure like I'm not better than anybody else, I'm not above anybody else. And truthfully, I don't have it all figured out. I'm still trying to figure it out as I go. So, We're making progress as we move. That's it. But the quote again, confidence in a counterfeit leads to confusion. So think about if you're really not emulating or if you're not walking in your purpose. So you decide that your purpose isn't good enough or strong enough, or you feel like you're not fit or built to, you know what I'm saying, make it. So you start saying to yourself, like, you know what, I'm just not. I'm not that guy. I'm just gonna do whatever, right? I'm gonna try to follow them and do this and do that. And now all of a sudden you start becoming confused because what you thought you were supposed to be doing doesn't make sense, or you feel like you don't belong. And then the people that you're trying to impress or the crowds that you're trying to gather, it's not genuine, number one. And then number two, like you just don't, you look foolish. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't have the tools for that position because that position isn't meant for you. Meanwhile, here's this vacant spot that's over here that's meant for you that you're supposed to go after, and you're not doing it because you are so caught up in the I don't want to do that, or I don't feel like that's going to be as popular. But you don't know what that brings. You don't know what your path is going to bring you. You only find that out when you actually go after it, you pursue it, and you're on a journey. That was our message in church on Sunday. I am on a journey. He kept like repeating that, and his girl got baptized that day, and it was like the start of things. And he was talking about like no matter where you are in life, you're on a journey. So for a lot of us, the journey is confusing because we are trying to walk a path that was never meant for our footsteps. The path that's less traveled is there because that's where we were supposed to create. And then we don't create because we don't think we're good enough. And then we don't think we're good enough. So now all of a sudden we start overthinking everything that we do because we've never believed in ourselves. Meanwhile, God gave us something to believe in. God made us in his image. And you're telling him, I don't think this is good enough. Ooh, the audacity. And I'm guilty of it. And I'm gonna be real about it. I know I've done that a couple of times, but I also know that when you let go and you trust, things actually work out for the good. It took a long time for me to figure that out. It took a long time for me to learn how to balance all that and become better in that belief, but it took time. It was a huge journey for me. It still is a journey. I'm still learning certain things. Like I can't go back on old ways, you know what I mean? Like, and there's times where I slip, and I have to gather myself and realize, like, man, that's not you. Like, this isn't what you were called to do. This isn't meant for you. You got other things that you're supposed to go after. Trust in that. Um, but learning how to accept who you are, learning how to love yourself, like that's so key. Self love, self care, like those are things that play an important factor in your growth. So you got to stop telling yourself that things aren't meant for you or you're not going to make it. You got to stop doing that. You got to stop being so negative to yourself. You can't expect to be treated with respect and then disrespect who you are. You can't expect others to see your worth when you consider yourself worthless. You have to look within inside of you, and you got to say, okay, if this is who I am. And if there's things that you need to improve, you work on those. If there's things that you want to grow in, you work on those. There's things you want to pursue, you go after it. You find out exactly who you are. You take time to gather your thoughts, gather your ideas. You surround yourself with people that see the true you. You ask questions, you build, you grow, you self-reflect, and every day you give the best that you can. That's your goal. Like there's nothing else. You don't need to go out and try to impress a whole bunch of people, because a lot of those people that you try to impress either A, want to emulate what you're doing and you don't realize it, or B, won't be around. Like it's weird because like if you think about just think about your life, think about how many people you've met and how many people you've tried to impress or tried to be close to, and then ask yourself, if you're looking at your circle now, how many of those people are around you? It's a wild reality, it is. But I also think that part of the reason why most of us can't accept ourselves is because the world tells us that we have to be different. You can't be successful if you don't have the car and the clothes and the house and the girls and the money and all that other stuff. You're constantly being fed that every single day. So you have to guard your mind and your heart, and you have to understand, like, some of the stuff out there is just perverted images that are trying to destroy you. So you have to ask yourself what's real. And you have to ask yourself also, like, go back to you. Who am I? What do I do that's great? How do I live my life? I know if I'm going, you know when you're going down the wrong path. You know you are. It's an undescribable feeling of you start taking steps, and it's just that like I don't know. I don't know. There's a difference between like pursuing something and being uncomfortable, and you're like, I've never done this before. I'm nervous, but I'm gonna see it through. And then there's that other side of where you're going through, and you're like, man, I know I ain't even supposed to be doing this. Why am I doing this? Right? Like, and you try to go anyway. And that one decision can damage you, whether for a moment, whether for a season, or whether for a lifetime. And it's scary. It really is scary because I think there are a lot of amazing human beings in the world. Some of them haven't reached where they need to be, or they never will because they tried to do something that they weren't supposed to do, or they got involved with the wrong things, or they started talking to the wrong people, got the wrong advice, and now they're either stuck or worse, right? It's a matter of just taking time and understanding that you can't expect to impress everybody you talk to. You can't expect everybody to be on the same page as you are. And the truth of the matter is, that's okay. That is totally fine. It is totally fine to be who you are. It's totally fine to be yourself. But you also have to analyze like what's real, what's not compromising who made you. You understand what I'm saying? Like I go back to just my faith because that's what helps me. I don't know what you have. I would encourage you to go that route. But if for whatever reason you decide that's not where you are, then you really got to still do some self reflection on a lot of things and figure out like who you are, what you're made to do, and then go pursue that. Like, always listen to people. And I always wanted to encourage people. It really wasn't until I got older where I found the words to say to try to help people. But one thing I did know is that I could listen. And I hear I've heard a lot of stories, man. I've had people tell me about their family. I've had people tell me about their shortcomings. I've had people tell me about business ideas, ventures, goals, things they want to do. And these are people that I've never met before. And they just start talking to me. And I'm like, yep, got you. Like, I hear you. I want you to go after it. Like, that's just what it is. But like, I was telling my wife that I said, people just talk to me. She's like, you just like you're willing to hear what they have to say, and then you talk back. Like some people just leave, and I was like, well, I feel like that's rude, but I also like that's just, I think because I would always want to talk, but I never knew what to say. But it always come off awkward too because I was trying to be something I wasn't. So that kind of defeats the purpose of saying something that's real because you're you're trying to emulate something that you're not, right? So once I figured it out and learned like, okay, this is what I do well. Like I can motivate and encourage. I could do that. I could try to see the good in people. I can try to help people understand who they are. Like that's me. I don't expect anybody else to do what I do. I just know that, and I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. So I would encourage you to do the same, to like really take time to identify yourself and to analyze yourself and to grow within yourself and to build within yourself and invest in you. You are your best investment. You have to feed yourself the right things in order to grow, right? So if you're looking at images and other people that are doing things that you know you not supposed to pursue, don't. If you following a crowd that has no type of ambition, stop following them. Sometimes you got to understand that like maybe you don't need to be in a crowd. Maybe you need to be the person to lead. Maybe you need to be the person to trend set. Maybe you need to be the person that has the goals in place and then starts going after them. And then other people see how you do it. Maybe you're that person who has that blueprint, but you won't know if you don't identify who you are and accept yourself for who you are and truly love who you are as a person. I get it. Depression is real. Mental health is real. Feeling low, feeling down, feeling anxious, feeling overwhelmed. Like those are real things, man. And it can definitely mess with the mental. It can mess with you. I saw something today and it really triggered me, man. Like this woman had made a TikTok post about I think it was like men's loneliness or something like that. And then some other woman duetted it and just went ham on dude. She's like, maybe men should do this and they should do that. Now, some of it might be true. there are some things that we could do better, but just the fact that it was glossed over, like a lot of people are gonna look at that and go, wow, maybe we're not important, right? That's the worst place to be. But also, you have to learn not to put your value into other people either, because unfortunately, people make mistakes and people will let you down. Now, your true friends will build you back up because they know if they did you wrong and it wasn't intentional, they're going to do everything to get you back to where you need to be, if not further. Now, people that are just around just to be around, when you fall, you're going to notice that when you go to reach your hand up, ain't no hands out. And then you got to ask yourself, well, who am I relying on? Am I relying on their acceptance? Am I relying on their words, their encouragement when I know it's negative? It's a negative place to be. I don't want you there. I want you in a good spot. I want you to, before you can even get there though, you got to take a deep breath and you just have to stop everything that you're doing and analyze, who am I? Okay? Who am I? What do I want to do? Where do I want to go? What are my dreams? And as I'm talking about these things, if there's people around me that are talking down about it, then maybe I don't need to be in that circle. If there's other people that are like, yo, man, it may sound far fetched, but go after it. See how far you can go. Maybe I need to be around those people. And then the other thing that you can't do is be so reliant on them and their words. And before you make moves, you waiting. Like at some point, you gotta have that talk with yourself. Um, I'll admit it's a hard conversation to have because when you are trying to find your identity and other things and other people, you will totally lose sight of who you are as an individual. If you're not careful, you'll lose yourself in that. And you'll never be able to fully recover because you'll keep trying to find it through things or idols or other people or words. And granted, I know I do a podcast, but mine, I try to encourage. I'm not going to tell you what you need to do or how you need to do. Well, I mean, I'm gonna tell you things that I think you should know, but my word is not like law. You know what I'm saying? You could either take the encouragement or you don't, but I try to at least provide some type of encouragement for you, right? But I also don't want you to be caught up in trying to chase after everything and go after everybody when in reality the true power lies within inside of you. And you have to learn how to unlock that and unleash the full potential that you have. And I don't really like to use potential because a lot of times when people say, "Oh, he has potential" or "she has potential," it means that they haven't grown yet. And the reality is like we've been growing for a while. We've seen this world. We've seen a lot that's going on in here. I know it's hard to accept yourself sometimes. Sometimes it's hard to look in the mirror and see who you are and see the mistakes that you made or see things that you've been through or see the life path that you've walked down. But one thing that my dad said one time, I thought it was really cool. He was talking to my brother about just life, and my brother had a lot of pain. And he said, when you're building a foundation, right? Like, what do you do? Like, some of that stuff you got to use, and then you build over it. Not necessarily suppressing it, but you're using that to build who you are. So if you made some failures, use that to your advantage, so you can figure out what your strengths are. If you've been down some bad paths, like use that to your advantage to learn. I know I don't need to go down that way. I need to go this way. Some things just happen and some things are unfortunate and some things try to destroy you. But when you put it in faith perspective, regardless of what the weapon was, it won't prosper. It may try to hold you back for a moment. It may try to, bury you or make you feel like you're less than, but you can still grow from that. I've seen, I'm listening to stories on TikTok and I'm looking at things on YouTube and I'm watching people come from some crazy situations and they're growing in their purpose. That could be you too. And I guess the challenge is write your acceptance speech. If I were to write my acceptance speech, I think I would say something along the lines of this. Like, first off, I definitely want to thank God for blessing me and allowing me to be here today, to learn from all my mistakes, all my failures. Allow me to be in positions of where I can be a blessing to others and allow me to be blessed by others. Being able to be a father, a husband, a coach, a mentor, being able to look back at my life, and the very things that I struggled with are the things that I'm here helping others with. The things that I felt like defeated me are the things that are giving people victory. The things that I felt like will hold me back are the things that are now pushing me forward. I've learned to love who I am. I used to hate who I was. Just never told anybody about it because I didn't think they cared. But when I start to learn who I was, I started to believe in myself more. Then I started to believe the words that I said. Then I started to believe in my actions. And it all took place over time, but I grew to get better. And I'm still trying to get better every single day. If I were to go back and change anything, would I be in this position today? I don't think I am, because then I don't learn the lesson. And that's what I've learned to do, is that for me personally, the things that I've experienced in my life, accept the things I cannot change, accept who I am and learn from it, and try to get better with each day that I have. And that's what makes me fully grateful. It makes me feel blessed. So I'm thankful for that. You know, I've grown a lot from where I was. I'm not the same person who I was before. I'm very, very thankful for that. Um, but I also know that it takes time for you to really see yourself and accept yourself. For me personally, I think when I finally realized that a lot of things I thought I was in control of, I can't control, and that God's ultimately in control. When I gave it to Him, and I remember how old I was, 32. I was 32 when this happened. I'm still growing, right? When I turned 32, I just remember a lot of things happened in my life, and I just said, okay, Lord, I just can't do this on my own. I need your help. What do I do? I drastically watched things changed. I watched opportunities come. I was able to build a family. All things that I thought weren't really going to exist for me. And I think the biggest reason why I was able to step into that was because I finally, for like the first time in my life, I used to say it a lot, but I finally, the first time, truly believed in who I was. And I was grateful for that. That's my story. And there's so many other things that have brought me to this point in life, but this is me. I've accepted that. And I'm going to keep trying to encourage and motivate and show love to people and build people and let them know that they're not in this by themselves, that you don't have to be overwhelmed. You don't have to overthink. You don't have to be anxious. There's a way for you to grow and be successful. And so I guess my task for you is to write your acceptance speech. Write what's important to you. Write what's real to you. Write what means something to you. Recite it to yourself. If you are a firm believer in God, pray every day and pray without ceasing. Ask God for blessings. Ask God for lessons. Ask God for where you need to be and where you need to be led. And just never, ever give up on yourself. Truthfully. The reason why you can't give up on yourself and the reason why you have to believe in you is because you have to remember the one who created you. You were made in God's image. In His image. So everything that happened, everything that you went through, whether good times, bad times, mountains, valleys, highs and lows, smiles, frowns, pain, crying, all those things, right? A lot of stuff we don't understand either. Why did we have to go through this? Or why did this happen? Or why did that happen? We can sit there in sorrow, or we can remember that there is a promise for our lives. Plans for you to prosper. Plans for you to have peace. You understand what I'm saying? So be thankful for your life. Be thankful for who you are. Be thankful for what you've experienced. And I know, like, for some it may be harder than others, but I would tell you, take it one day at a time. This isn't a race. This isn't a I gotta hurry up and get there. No, this is a journey. You're on a journey. You're on a journey to not only understanding who you are, but accepting the path that God has for you. So I would strongly, strongly encourage you to just take it one day at a time, to continue to believe in yourself, to continue to love yourself, to continue to show yourself wealth and worth, and to put value on who you are as a person, not in a cocky way, but in a blessed way. Accept who you are. Be the true person that you're meant to be. And when you do that, watch how everything else starts to fall into place. That's when you know you're on the right path, all right? I hope this message hits you well. I hope it blesses you and encourages you through the week. And at the end of the day, always remember this. I believe in you. Now please go believe in yourself, all right? It's the Overthinking Thoughts Pod. I'm Ed. We out.
These thoughts up in my head. Things I never did. I took some L's, but I'm still here. I got these thoughts up in my head. I toss and turn about some things I never said. I got regrets about some things I never did. I took some risks and took some L's, but I'm still here. And I know.